welcome to the Kelly Roach Show, a place for no fluff, easy to implement, 20-minute or less business and leadership lessons to help you build a sustainable business that scales. Let's get started. All right, welcome back. And we are diving into part 4 of a new era, your new era in business reinvention. And this entire series is designed to really help you dig into and crack open your next great elevation and evolution as you move forward in building and growing your empire. And we're really digging into a lot of concepts that really, in all different ways, tie back to leadership. And as I mentioned in the previous parts of this series, if you didn't listen to parts 1, 2, and 3 already, do not pass go, stop here, rewind, go hit those episodes first, and then come back and listen to this because they all build on top of one another. But each of these episodes is really designed to help you understand that it's within radical self-leadership that you unlock the next level of results for you. And we're really talking about all different concepts, reinvention and achieving peak performance and aligning our mission and our vision and our building of our empire with our true destiny and true calling in life, and understanding when you've grown and changed that there's growing pains and that there's many times a need and a desire to reinvent. Right? And this series is really designed to help you to do that in an elegant, sophisticated, and clear and certain way that is going to have the effect in the market that you want it to. So today I want to dig into this idea of how to achieve peak performance as a Kairos leader. And again, I want to remind you, the whole series has a bunch of tools and resources and a live event following it, that when you message me the word Kairos on any of my social media platforms, specifically, let's focus on either Instagram or Facebook, Kelly Roach on Facebook or Kelly Roach Official on Instagram. Message me the word Kairos, Kairos, and you'll get all the resources and tools that go along with this. But I want to talk about achieving peak performance as a Kairos leader after the highs and the lows. Because as peak performers, we have very selective memory. And let's talk about that for a second. We go through an extreme amount of pain, blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, and failure to accomplish any success that we have in building our empires. Right? I think we can all agree on that. However, what happens is every time we achieve a very high level of success or a big breakthrough, the natural state of affairs after that is that the whole business and your mindset and everything that you're doing has to be recalibrated to be able to sustain this new level of performance or growth. And this many times is what really hurts high performers, because I believe that we black out and selectively unremember or forget all of the pain, all of the heartache, all of the hard work, all of the sacrifice that we went through to get to that level of success. And once we're having that level of success, we begin to assume that that level of success will be sustained forever. And we forget the seasons and cycles that we naturally go through each time we hit a new level of peak performance. And that many times it feels like you have a very high level of success that's followed by a big breakdown. And it's not necessarily that you did something wrong or that you aren't able to sustain that new level of success. It's that you hit a high, but you're not necessarily calibrated to sustain that high. And so then you begin the adjustment period of recalibrating mind, body, team, systems, delivery to be able to sustain that new high. And what happens in the process of doing that is that you many times have a bit of slip back. And in the process of creating this recalibration, this reorganization, this period of operational alignment, or even mindset alignment, you have some slip back. And this is where a lot of people just really fall off the wagon. And, as evidence to that, you see so many people leaving the online space in droves in 2023 after having a magnificent year in 2021 and pretty strong years for a lot of them in 2022. Well, why is that? Because they forgot what it was like to do business pre-pandemic. They forgot everything that they had to do in order to achieve that level of success. And they began to assume that that level of success was now the baseline, the bar. And it's not that you can't assume that once you've achieved a level of success that you're going to sustain it and build on it. It's that success always looks like that shaky heart machine line, right? Where it's going up and down and up and down, and it's all over the place with highs and lows. And that's because we're dealing with humans. We're dealing with real people. We're dealing with the limitations of the learning curve of ourselves and those that we lead, whether on our team or externally in the market. So again, one of the reasons why I'm ushering in this invitation to talk about this new era of leadership is that I feel one of the things I see severely lacking in the online space is wisdom and perspective. I see people collecting tactics, collecting courses, collecting trends and fads and things to do and things that, they want to learn. But where I see a severe lack and a big gap that is open white space right now is perspective and wisdom for sustainable success over the long term. And, I think that for me, stepping into that role as a true mentor that can give you perspective and share wisdom of success sustained over a long period, and being very transparent and real about all of the highs and the lows that will happen continuously in that process is far more valuable at this juncture for you than me sitting here and walking you through more tactics, more to-dos, more things that you can implement to get results. Because one of the reasons why when I broke out my personal brand, I created The Inevitable Millionaire was that I understood that for the most part, when people are not getting results in their business, it is not just a lack of knowing what to do. And in many instances, people know exactly what to do. But it's a belief system, a mindset, a motivation and discipline game that they're losing. And that's why they are not, in fact, executing the things that they need to do to build their business. And I know for all of you that listen to the show, you're high performers and you say, Kelly, I am doing the work. Right. And one of the biggest distinctions that I can give you here on the show that's going to make you unbelievably powerful as a business leader is to understand that there is a massive difference between hard work and doing what's required. The vast majority of people in their own right and in their own mind believe that they work very, very hard. If you ask them, they would say, yeah, I work really hard. Business owners pride themselves in working unbelievably hard. Do the vast majority of business leaders do what's necessary to create a profitable and sustainable empire? Hell no. You know that. We all know that, right? The vast majority of people are not willing to do what's required. They are willing to work hard within their comfort zone. They're not willing to do what's required in their discomfort zone. And because of that, that is why the vast majority of businesses never surpass the $1 million mark, because the business owner works very, very hard in their zone of comfort, familiarity, and competency. And they never learn how to complement their weaknesses with people that provide strengths. And they never learn how to get out of their comfort zone of what they're great at doing and focus on getting results through others by committing to being a better leader, a better manager, a better mentor. And so because of this, there's a severe cap at that $1 million mark that most people are never going to break through. And they're never going to break through that because they are staying in their zone of confidence. And I really want to challenge all of you in this world of this conversation that we're having about next level leadership, your reinvention, your next big breakthrough to go from $1 million to 5 million to 10 million to 15 million and beyond it's going to be an inside job. And most people that have built businesses to any level of success had some previous success in their life that made them feel confident that they could do this. Most people listening to this show right now had a time in their business where they were winning, and they were winning big and experiencing great abundance from the performance of their business. And also, that abundance is going to follow by a period where you feel maybe a bit of scarcity. And I think that it is so much more challenging for someone who has had a high level of success to manage the emotions of their own mindset in a period of what looks like or feels like failure by external circumstances than it is for someone that's never had that high level of success to begin with. So what am I saying? It is harder for a peak performer because someone who's never accomplished anything and never done anything big and never really accomplished anything of consequence, they're used to having a low bar in their life. Let's be honest. They're accustomed to a low bar. It doesn't kill them the way that it kills peak performers when they go from a high to a low. For a lot of people, it destroys them. And here's where faith comes in. And here's where answering your calling comes in. And here's where we're going so much deeper in this conversation about Kairos leadership. Because Kairos leadership is about you understanding that you can't carry this weight alone. And it's welcoming God, your Savior, our Creator, whatever word you use to refer to our great God that created us and chose us for a time like this to do the exact thing that we're called to do, which is the reason why we're here. It's in those moments of having faith and having fortitude and being so clear on what your mission is in the world and what your assignment is on the planet, and being so committed and having such high conviction to that, that you have the ability to not assign your worth to your performance in that moment, and to not assign your capability or how far or high you can go as a business leader against your season of recalibration, your season of reinvention, your season of building back and making a comeback after a season of peak performance and then maybe a season of underperformance. And this may sound like a simple concept, but for me, my observation is that the vast majority of people get taken out because of their own psychology. It's their own inability to give themselves the grace to trust and be patient and follow through in those periods of the lows that follow the highs that take people out. And for me, when I was at absolute rock bottom, and I've been there, I had to welcome God into my life. I had to allow him to become my CEO. I had to allow myself to finally get to a place of surrender, because I realized that there were moments and times and situations where I literally couldn't hard work myself out of it. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but there was no amount of hard work that could fix the things that I was dealing with in the moment that I was dealing with them. They were so much bigger than me, right? And so when you begin to have this grander perspective for your life and this bigger connection, this deeper connection to your calling, you're not assigning your day-to-day performance as your worth. You're not looking at a season of struggle as taking you out of the game in terms of what you can accomplish. And most importantly, you're not lowering the bar and setting different goals or lower goals because you kind of getting beat down by life And although that's what you really, really want up there, you're going to set the bar all the way down here because you feel like that's what you can manage. That's what feels within reach for you. That's what feels possible for you in this moment. And let me tell you why that happens. Because we always fail before we succeed. And for so many people, they begin a process of growing to the next level in their businesses and in their lives. And then they begin to fail, and then they fail and they fail and they fail some more. And because they can't manage their own psychology around that, because we black out all the failures that we had to lead up to the last success that we had, people begin to set lower goals. They let go of their dreams. Their dreams go to the graveyard, and they begin to talk themselves out of what they really, really want in their lives because they can't manage their own psychology. And hey, listen, I'm the first person to say, like, I couldn't do it alone. Like, I had to bring faith into the equation. I had to go to God. I had to surrender. I had to bring him into the centerpiece of everything that I was doing because I realized I couldn't do it alone. And I think that so much of the hopelessness, anxiety, depression, mental illness, all of these things that people suffer from in society today, and by the way, addiction and broken relationships and so much more in the entrepreneurship world, I see it with my peers. I think so much of that stems from not having your faith to rely on and not being in a society that encourages you to not carry it alone, not being in a world that tells you it's okay to ask for help and to not carry it alone. And that, you know, there's such a different psychology when faith is brought into the equation, because when faith is brought into the equation, I know for me, for the very first time in my life, in the last probably 6 months, I've really gotten to a place where I can truly believe, because of my faith growing so much, and I can truly feel in the moment when something is happening, that when something is not going the way that I want it to, for the first time in my life, I truly and genuinely, on a heart, soul, and even calm mind level, can say, I know you have a better plan, God. I know there's something even better, which is why this plan of mine is not happening, because your plan is grander. And I know that we say that, and I know that we all hear the phrases, and it's often talked about, you know, there's a bigger plan, and, you know, trust in God, and, you know, all these like platitudes, right? But there's a difference between like hearing those things and saying those things and saying that you believe those things, and then still having extreme fear and anxiety and stress, versus actually understanding and trusting in that. And for me, I knew the phrase, I heard the phrase, I said I believe the phrase, but for my entire adult life, it still didn't change how I felt about situations and circumstances. I still felt all of the stress and all of the pain and all of the fear when things weren't going the way that I wanted them to or anticipated that they would. And it was only in the deepening and strengthening of my faith in this last year and a half, and the transformation I've gone through personally as a person and as a leader, that I have true faith on a very deep level, that this is going to resolve itself even better than what I had planned. And I don't need to both worry and pray. And I still am working on that every single day. It's building that practice. It's like a practice that you have to build, and it's something that you have to deepen and strengthen every single day. But all of that to say, I realize that there has to be a completely new conversation for business leaders. One, around the low that comes after the high and how to manage that. And that's where this whole dialogue around Kairos is coming in, which, if you haven't already, message me the word Kairos so that you can get all the tools and resources and cool things that I'm releasing. And I want you to come to the workshop that is happening first week of September. It's brand new. You've never been to anything like this before. I promise you. Again, you can message me the word Kairos at Kelly Roach Official or on my personal page, Kelly Roach. But there needs to be a new conversation around the low after the high so that great leaders like you and people that can, in fact, build extraordinary businesses and create life-changing amounts of wealth and life-changing amounts of good in the world don't get deterred during those periods. That's number one. Number two, there needs to be a new conversation, a new space that brings faith into building your empire, making money and doing good, leading with faith, leading with family, and doing fulfilling work that changes the world. And as a byproduct, creates extreme financial abundance. That's what I stand for. That's my message to the world is it's faith and family first. Then it's to doing fulfilling work that changes the world in a positive way. And then it's allowing the byproduct of that extraordinary work that you do, answering your calling and glorifying God, to allow you to make millions. Now, why do I love the concept of building an empire? Because let me tell you, you run a six-figure business, you're making the same amount or less than an entry-level employee. You're probably taking home $25,000 to $30,000. You have $1 million business, probably taking home $300,000, $350,000. Not life-changing. Not going to really shift your life in a dramatic way. Now, build a $3 million business. Okay, now you're taking home $1 million a year. Things are starting to very dramatically change at this point. You take your business to 7 million, 10 million, 13 million. Now we're talking life-changing wealth. And the incredible thing about it is if you follow the methodology that I teach and you build a business that's based on systems and processes and people, you could run that business for 5 years at a scalable level and exit it. You're not going to work for the rest of your life. You can just do whatever hobbies and philanthropy and personal brand stuff you want to do. And you can still have enough money to pass on to the next generation, your children, your grandchildren, all of those things. So this is why I'm so passionate about business owners learning how to manage the low after the high. Because if you don't learn how to manage the low after the high, you're never going to break into the multi-millions, and you're certainly not going to stay there. Just because you touch up on a revenue number once doesn't mean you're going to stay there. It also doesn't mean you're not qualified. It also doesn't mean you're not worthy. It also doesn't mean you're not going to get back there again. But there's a good chance that you're going to hit a high and then have some slip back, and not losing your, excuse my language, shit when that happens is like make or break. Like it's going to determine how far you and the team and the business go. So I want you to really explore your own psychology and belief system and where your mindset has been. And I want you to ask yourself if the low after the high has taken you off track in terms of showing up with your true tenacity and energy and vigilance and commitment and desire in your life. Because this journey of Kairos leadership that I want to take you on is about welcoming faith into your life and glorifying God in the business that you build, but it's also about successfully building your empire and actually achieving your dreams and not lowering your standards or lowering your goals or lowering your financial desires because of the heartache that you feel during those transition periods. So ask yourself if you've been allowing faith to play a role in your ability to build your empire. Have you been asking for help and welcoming it into your life? How has your psychology been about managing the low in between the highs? And are you showing up in a way that is truly going to allow you to fulfill your desires? And what would you need to change in order to show up fully and lean in completely, even in the lows in between the highs, so that you can create that next big breakthrough? And I posted about this a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to end the show today with this. It is in the hard seasons that you do the work that creates the good seasons. But we have very short memories, and we get in the good season and we forget We forget the hard season that was the reason why we're having that good season. Hard seasons are not bad. Hard seasons where it looks on the surface like nothing is happening are when you do the most important strategic work, the most important operational work, the things behind the scenes that are going to be absolutely your catalyst to uncapping your growth, your potential, and your income. Okay, so let's keep this conversation going. Make sure you join me for part 5 in this series. And before you go today, make sure you message me the word Kairos to get the business reinvention toolkit and all the other resources that I'm sharing. And so that you make sure you find out about the details of our September virtual experience that in a blow your freaking mind. I promise you've never experienced anything like it and you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks so much for tuning into the show, and I'll see you back here next time.